Welcome to the first podcast. It's an audience with a Pope, and I use the initial Anthony A. Pope because I don't want to be disrespectful to the Holy Father. So I'm far from the Holy Father, but it is an audience with a Pope. And my first guest couldn't be anyone else. It had to be my dear friend, somebody who is an absolute triple threat in the entertainment business, Joe Piscopo. Joe, thanks so much for coming on.
Anthony, listen, it's not only great to be with you, but I want to thank you. This tie I'm wearing, you got me.
Oh,
And
is
by
that
the way, and just so you know,
okay?
Anthony Pope, the tie works. The way Anthony buys things, I go, you know what I mean, and that good combination because you know that I matched the pocket square with the tie. Thank you for that.
Well,
For my work,
you're very welcome. Yeah, it looks great on. It looks great on. But you always look great, Joe.
please, man.
Listen. That Sinatra look you got. I mean, it's just
But
that tie and
did I tell you what happened? And we were at the SNL 50th. Did I tell you? I don't think I told you this. And I'm walking down the aisle at the SNL homecoming thing, and
right,
I was with Allie, Alexandra, my daughter.
right.
And then she's going, and there's Adam Sandler. I say hi, Paul Rudd. I say hi to everybody who's anybody there. JB Smoove, who was hysterical, was
Right,
behind me. We were
sure.
laughing. And then Allie goes like this, Nancy. She goes, oh my gosh, it's Tom Hanks, like that. So
Uh-huh.
I go, where's Tom Hanks? Like that. So now traffic has stopped all around Tom. And there's a thing. So I go back and hold up. So he catches my eye and I know him a little bit. And he goes, Joe Piscopo. He goes, oh my God. He stops everything in Radio City after the show down the aisle. Joe Piscopo. This is Tom Hanks. And I go, oh, Tom, say hi to my daughter Alexandra. Another Piscopo. Oh my God, Joe Piscopo. And this is Tom Hanks, man. And then he goes, Joe, I got to tell you, honestly, no offense, you look like more Frank Sinatra every day. You're morphing into Frank Sinatra. He said, we were laughing, man. I'll tell you,
Well,
he's
Joe, you have that style and that class, and
that's it, baby.
that's why Sinatra loved you. I mean,
Uh,
when I listen to your show on Sunday,
yeah,
the
thank you.
Sinatra 2 hours,
Yeah,
and you play the recording of him introducing you.
yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
what do you say about that? I mean,
I know.
I get a tear in my eye. And he doesn't know me. He wasn't talking about me. But it's just amazing the way he did that. It was
Yeah,
so
yeah,
cool. It
yeah.
was so cool the way he did that.
And I was backstage dressed as him, dressed as him.
Right,
So it was like, and I'm going like dressed up as Frank Sinatra
right,
as he requested.
right.
And when Mr. Sinatra requests something, you go, absolutely,
That's right.
So two people, did Frank Sinatra or does Anthony Pope? When they say
Yeah,
be there, you just say done, got it.
well,
So I'm in makeup and I had to do a whole, my record coming out there at that time back in the 80s. I love rock and roll. And he dug it because it was an impression of him singing rock tunes. And
sure.
then I could hear him, you can't see him backstage. And when you hear him mentioning your name, your hero mentioning your name, and how we were close to our fathers, you and I,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
knew my dad, and God rest his soul, God rest their souls. And man, if Frank to them, Frank Sinatra was the guy. So
yeah, no doubt.
it's always, I'm still in awe, still in respect. And Anthony, my dear friend, I get a call the other day on Sundays with Sinatra if I could plug the show on
Sure, of
WABC out of
course,
New
of
York,
course.
and you could stream it everywhere. It's syndicated across the country now. A kid calls. He goes, I'm listening in Warren, New Jersey. That's way far in like northwest New Jersey out there. And I go, it's Sussex County, I think. And he goes, I'm listening on a transistor radio. He goes, and you know what? I'm 20 years old. I go, oh, 20
Transistor
years
radio.
old, listening to Frank Sinatra, knowing me probably from Jersey. And then Frank Sinatra this past week charted 3 albums on the Billboard Jazz chart. The highest is
All
like,
right.
yeah, the Ultimate Sinatra and one of his compilation albums, two of those albums. And the best is yet to come. Is Actually it was called the very best. It was numbered like 1 and 2, and then just The World We Knew, which is another kind of esoteric album for you and I from 1967, charted number 14. When it came out in 1967, it was number 24. He's 25 years gone, the old man, as we
Wow. Wow.
affectionately refer to Mr. Sinatra. So thank you for that, because it's really incredible.
You
Incredible.
know what, Joe? I'll move on, but I got to tell you a quick. I remember the day he passed away,
Yeah.
and when I got a call from a friend of mine, John, he calls me, he goes, Frank Sinatra passed away, and
Oh,
I remember thinking, and I go, then I guess nobody's immune from it. If Frank Sinatra's got to leave, if he couldn't get out of here alive, nobody's getting out of here alive.
I thought the same thing. Tell me, man to man, Mr. Macho Man, Anthony Pope, I love you. You're a guy's guy. I love that about you. You had a tear in your eye. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, absolutely,
boom,
absolutely,
boom. You know,
absolutely. You can't not. But the reason we could talk about Frank Sinatra forever. This is my sense of it. This is my opinion.
yeah,
Because did so much, he created so much, he
yeah,
left so much
that's right.
that no matter how often you talk about him, you can never be complete.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and that's why it's just always to reminisce about him,
yeah,
what you do, which keeps him
yeah.
everybody's. But it's amazing, it's amazing. But hey, listen, hope Frank is watching, Mr. Sinatra is watching, and he likes this. But anyway, Joe, listen, all of your career is extraordinary.
Oh,
When I first met you, we weren't introduced. I was in a casino in
ah,
Atlantic City.
yeah.
We're filming with
Wise
Danny
guys.
DeVito.
Yeah, wise guys.
So I'm at the table,
Yeah.
and they're trying to get extras, people to be on it. So me and two guys are there, friends of mine. He goes, "Hey, you guys want to be in a movie?" And they said, "Joe Piscopo movie." I said, "Yeah, sure, let's go." So we went there, and now you know how it is. Hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait. Hurry
Oh
up.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
want to go to dinner. I want to get out of there. And you came running down the stage. I remember you had a white jacket on, a tuxedo
Yeah.
jacket,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it was cut. And then you looked at me and Joe, you saw the expression on my face, and you said, "Don't worry, we got about 6 in the can. We'll be done soon." And like it was just like you realized that like I was bored to death at this point. I wanted to go home. And I said, "Hey, listen, at least Joe Piscopo spoke to me." I said, so
That's
it was
great.
worth it.
That's a great story. We were shooting Wise Guys at resorts. But
Yeah.
don't forget, the gambling just came in. Louis Mal did Atlantic City with Burt Lancaster and Susan Sarandon right before that. And Brian De Palma was hip enough and smart enough to go down to Atlantic City, man, with Danny DeVito and Harvey Keitel and that great cast. And we went in and we shot it at resorts. And I remember the scene you're talking about where I think Danny gets we fake Danny getting shot at that time.
Right,
It's toward
right,
the end
right.
of the movie, but it was a lot. Did we do 6 already? We did 6 already?
Yeah, because you said them. I remember it like it was yesterday. You
Yeah.
said, "Don't worry, we got 6 in the can."
Oh,
And I
I
said,
gotta tell you,
"Okay."
I
I said,
got
"At least I got Joe Piscopo to talk to me."
but
So,
I got to tell you too. Then cut to Jersey City doing Wise Guys, and Danny and I are at the bar, and it was Costello's. It may still be the Portuguese area
okay.
when the Portuguese started coming into Ferry Street in your hometown in Newark, man, and it was just great and fun. And Danny's there, I'm there, and and then Louis Albano comes in. God, Captain Lou, God bless him, the
Yeah.
funniest guy. And Danny and I are there, and now he's supposed to like kind of start busting my chops. So the name was Mo Dixon. That was my name, Mo
That's
Dixon. I
right.
was
Yeah.
a Jewish guy. Remember that?
Yeah.
So and forgive me, not to be inappropriate, but it's in the film. And Louis' line was he takes a bite out of a sandwich and he runs in and he goes, "Hey, dick face," like that, you know. So I go, forgive me. So I go, now you can't keep a straight face when that happens. I got Brian De Palma shooting. I'm new to films. It's
Right.
the great Danny DeVito, the legend, and every single take, Anthony, hey, right, and me and Danny are laughing like that. 22 takes.
No kidding.
22 takes. We couldn't get it, and Brian cleared the room. He said, "Clear the room. No, everybody out. We got to get this." And even if you watch that scene now, you'll see me and Danny still smirking a little bit.
Yeah,
22.
that's
Oh.
great. But look, you're a legend on SNL. You and Eddie, you brought it back from what was going to be. It probably wouldn't have went further. There's no question. From all accounts, you and Eddie are the ones really that kept that episode, that series going after the very first cast that was there.
Yeah.
And your entertainment is extraordinary. I remember seeing you the first time in Atlantic City, and we're close friends. We've been friends for now 30 years.
Yeah.
And I remember it was many years ago, and I remember Chuck Webner was there, and we were in resorts,
Yeah.
and there was a
Yeah.
bunch of everybody was there. But I remember it was the first time I saw you on stage in that capacity,
Hey.
and everybody around us just had our mouths open, and we go, "Holy cow, he does all of it! Like
Oh, it's
7 instruments, singing." It was absolutely amazing. So when I said you're a triple threat, I think you're a triple threat.
ah,
But anyway, Joe, you have a book out. It's
Yeah,
called
yeah.
Jersey Guy, right? What is it called?
Average Joe. I
Average
happen to have
Joe.
it in my hand. I
Right
happen to have it
there.
in
Oh,
my
just
hand.
coincidentally, you happen to have it there.
Thank you, my friends. Yes, Anthony, you were just talking about Average Joe, I believe.
Yes, Average Joe. So, listen, tell us really what prompted what prompted you to do that, and how far do you go back, Joe? Give us a little sense of it.
You know what? It starts at the beginning with the family come from Italy, coming from Avellino, as you know all too well. And somebody said you got to write a book, and because I tell a lot of stories on the radio on AM 970 in the morning show and WABC, even we tell stories. And I've been through so much. There are times, Anthony Pope, where I just go, gosh, I can't believe I've been alive this long, and who I met and what happened, and then going through the ups and downs of the industry. So it's kind of a survival story. It's a survival to hang in there, to reinvent yourself. And we were talking about Frank Sinatra. Don't forget, 1950, Mr. Sinatra, and he would tell you, it was done. It was over.
Yeah,
All of his friends left. He was done. 1951, that was it for Mr. S. And then he hung in there and he believed in himself. And then number one and number two, you got to keep working. You got to keep working. You don't want to be a star. You want to keep working. And so that thread, I approached the book with that thread. Scott Lamb, a gentleman by the name of Scott Lamb, he did Mike Huckabee's book and a number of other athletes. So he helped me and did most of the actual writing. But I
right.
made sure I told him, start with the family coming from Italy because I'm so proud of that. And I know you are too. Family, they came from these little villages in Italy to come to the great America. And then they worked as blue collar workers. And you go to law school, you become a cop in Newark, then you study for your law degree. And when you're working at a junkyard, I know your story, Anthony. Your story is everybody's story that came from another country, man. My grandparents the same way. They were blue collar workers. My father went on to become an attorney. Back then, my father couldn't speak English when he first went to school.
Is
I
that
said,
right? Really?
yes. And when he went to school in Newark, and they went to Belleville, out in the country back then.
Yeah.
Remember the country, right?
Yeah.
Am I right? And I don't know where your mom used to live. Rest her beautiful soul. So it's a story of starting out and then attempting and wanting to make it. My favorite part of this book, if I may, Anthony, is the comedy clubs in the 1970s. I should have gone to law school. I don't have your intellect, clearly. So you could go to Rutgers. You could go. You could do anything. My father as well. My father, one of the, as you know, was one of the brightest guys we knew. So I'm not so much. I got 4 years with a degree in broadcasting and television from Florida. I should have gone to law school, should have gone with my pop, done compensation out of Passaic County, and worked it. And I should have, and I said, let me get this out of my system. Let me just see if I can make it work. I end up at the comedy clubs, the improvisation, 44th and Ninth, Hell's Kitchen, when New York was even a million times worse than it is now. And I worked, there's Gilbert Gottfried, there's Larry David, there's Jerry Seinfeld, there's Rodney Dangerfield, there's Richard Pryor, there's Robin Williams. It was like when comedy was rock and roll. And I said, if I could just get on stage and I could showcase myself just a little bit, maybe I can get a gig as an actor. I just wanted to be working. Just
Right.
working. And the book goes through those days with Gilbert Gottfried, one of my best friends, rest his soul, and Larry on stage, and all the great comics that came through. And then that transition from there to Saturday Night Live and those early days with Eddie Murphy. And you're absolutely right. We were done. We almost killed America's favorite television show, man. And
No,
funny
you,
great thing,
you
I don't
guys.
like to, but we made it. So it's a survival
Yeah, you
story.
guys, you guys are all about it. That's for sure. Listen, the book is incredible. I urge everyone to read it. And thank God you didn't go to law school because we wouldn't have the talent that we have.
Yeah.
And certainly you're sometimes you're too humble. You could have done anything you want in your life. I'm
Uh,
glad that you chose the creative course
uh,
because that is, listen, there's so many people. We have an event, as you know, at the High Lawn on April 25th. The
Sit.
Trinici with you and
Yep.
with
Chris
Chris
Macchio.
Macchio,
Yep. Yep.
and Dominic Scaglione,
Yep.
who
Yep.
is on Broadway, played Frankie Valli, and now he's Donald Trump's man. He's the president's man. I mean, singing the national anthem. What did he sing? America the Beautiful, right? At the inauguration?
I'm
Is that what
telling you,
he's saying? I think that's what it was.
when Donald Trump took the oath of office, and I talked to Chris Macchio, and he'll be again just to plug it, High Lawn Pavilion. Anthony's
Yeah,
producing, and
April 25th, folks. And,
Yeah, yeah. Come on down because I'm bringing Michael. We just saw Michael before we went on the air, but Michael, my son, rips it up like Stevie Ray Vaughan and
he's
Jimmy
crazy.
Hendrix. We're going to
He's
bring
crazy.
Michael in, and Dominic is a great talent. Played
Yeah.
Frankie Valli on
Yeah.
Broadway, so we're locked and loaded on that. But
I,
Chris,
I tell you what, I tell
we
you what,
put,
when that young man, Michael, your son,
yeah,
if you close your eyes when he's playing the guitar, you think Hendrix there.
yeah,
Somebody brought Hendrix back. That young man can play guitar. He
yeah.
is talented, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Talented,
Thank you.
man. Really.
He's doing great online. Mikey P
Yeah.
Music. You can check out Mikey P Music, and he gets just one post. And you know what? The way it is now, Anthony, one post, and Michael gets more eyeballs on that one post than me at 4.5 years doing comedy at the improvisation.
Yeah. No, of
No,
course.
there's no way I hit like
Yeah.
three,
No.
400,000. You know, it's a great thing, and we're going to be there April 25th, High Lawn Pavilion.
That's it. And listen, the president admitted that he won the election the first time on TikTok.
Yeah, yeah, he did
He said
say
that.
that.
He
How
said
about
that.
that?
That
How about that?
I won the election on TikTok. So,
Yeah,
we're living in a different world for sure. And, talking about different worlds and transitions, you went from, the movies and TV, Law and Order, all the shows that you've been on over the
yeah,
years,
yeah,
and you went into the radio. And I can't believe it because when I was preparing for this,
yeah,
I didn't want to just call you with silly stuff. So I said, let me look for myself and see when you started.
yeah.
2014. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, over 10 years, into our 11th year on the air, if you could believe it. It was like, and again, I studied, that's what I studied in college. I went for broadcast and television. So I
Okay.
studied, and I fell in love with radio down in Jacksonville, Florida.
That's right. You mentioned that to me. Yes, yes.
I couldn't even, I could have gone to maybe Essex County Community College. I could
Oh,
have got it.
stop,
No, no,
stop,
no, come on,
stop,
no, really.
stop, stop.
Which is, by the way, a great school. I don't even think I could have got in there. So I went to Jacksonville, and my pop got me to Jacksonville. He didn't want me to go to Vietnam, so we went, and then I studied radio, and I knew the beauty of radio and the intimacy with an audience on radio. Man, I worked FM, I worked rock music, I worked classical, I worked at what we used to call a soul station.
Okay.
Playing Joe Tex and James Brown, Jackie Wilson. I was in my glory. So
Right.
then I came up, did the comedy thing on SNL, and then raising kids, as you know, and then my friend Dr. Rock Positano, our mutual buddy,
Oh,
Dr. Rock
sure.
said, "You got to go down. I think let's you should do something down at AM 970." I said, "What is that?" New York flagship station for Salem Media, a powerful company. So I went down, met our friend that we know, Jerry Crowley. Jerry Crowley, he's like a legend, in radio. And he
Sure
goes,
is. Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
goes, it was like this. It was a snowy night. And then Rock and I are sitting in Jerry's office, and I'm having. By the way, I don't want to break confidence on the air, but you know, we had a lot of fun.
Right.
We had a lot of fun, and we were having a lot of fun. I would take Sunday. I would have the kids Sunday night to Wednesday after divorcing Kimberly. And
Right.
Kimberly and I, remember all that whole, you went through all of it. Thank you, Anthony.
Yes, I was
Anthony
there.
saved my life. I'll just tell you that. So now I go to Wednesday. And then Wednesday to like Sunday, I would do live shows. We would go out. I kind of had a life, after that.
Yeah.
And then I would get the kids, a dedicated father first and foremost. So now Mr. Crowley he goes, "Hey, Joe, we don't have a morning guy." And I go, "Well, put me up for 2 weeks. You like it? We'll have fun. And, it doesn't work. It doesn't work." He goes,
Right.
"Great. You go on Monday, go on Monday." It's 11 years ago,
That's
man.
crazy, isn't
Now
it?
but I have no life. I can't have the fun we used to have.
Listen, that certainly is part of, anybody, and all of the radio people, TV, anybody that has to get up that early in the morning. I
Yeah,
mean, for the people that don't know that are watching, look, every now and then you grace me with the opportunity to host your show when you're
yeah.
somewhere else and you're performing somewhere, and I always enjoy it, except when the alarm rings at 3:30. Joe, I swear to God, it's like I agreed to do what? It's like, what? I agreed to do this.
I got to tell you, Anthony Pope sits in for the Piscopo show, and he's great. And by the way, can I tell you something? I don't know if we have time, and you keep me on time because I'll be babbling. But there was this week. It's like all that's going on politically, and I hate when people say anything bad about America. Even what happened? Remember when Barack Obama got elected? What did you and I get on the phone? What's the first thing we said? We're proud. We're proud
That's
to
right.
be American.
Proud Americans.
You said, Joe, I'm proud to be American. We elected a black man as president of the United States. How great is that? Even with Biden always fumbled like that, I would find myself, and I didn't vote for the guy, and I thought he was the worst thing for this country. But that aside, when he's bumbling, I go, "Come on, Joe, you could do it, baby." I walk him through it. He couldn't
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
now when they attack Donald Trump, I don't like. So there was a day before you came on the show. People said, "Well, you can't get terrorists out of the country. That apparently is wrong." Explain that to me, counselor. I don't understand. You can't put them on a plane. Send that plane back. And then people on the show are going, "They have to go through due process. They have to." I put Anthony Pope on here. Oh, you said throw him out. I'll tell you exactly what to do. I so needed that. Thank you. Thank you. That
Yeah,
was
no,
great.
listen, it's a law, the Enemies Act of
Yeah.
1789, whatever it was. I mean, it had been used for the most part with in war times. But yet, if you look at it, it does talk about, predatory incursions by people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not just a matter of declaring a war. You
Yeah.
could have an undeclared war. And if when you have people that are coming in that are gang members, we're not talking about innocent
That's right.
immigrants that want to come to the country. We're not talking about people with families.
That's
Let's
right.
make that straight because the misconception and the misinformation that gets out there today.
Yeah.
People actually, you could talk to people that are going, "Oh my God, Homeland Security is breaking down the doors of family and they're
Yeah.
taking their kids." And you
Yeah.
say, "So where are you getting this information from?" The people
No.
that have been taken out of the country are people that are wanted for serious crimes, have been identified as gang members. Those are the people that they're trying to take out because how many more children should be raped? How
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
more homes should be taken over, apartments by terrorists? How much
Right.
more fentanyl should we allow in the country when
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of people are dying each year?
Yeah.
So again, it's going to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will make decision, but it is what it is, Joe. But you're hosting here. It's funny because you obviously are a Trump supporter. You have voted for Mr. Trump, the president. I'm
Yeah.
sure 3 times. I,
Yeah.
I know that he respects you enormously. I've seen it. I've seen his reaction to you and how he treats you as a dear friend. But there was a time, my friend, that you were a staunch Democrat when you were living in LA and you were in that Hollywood scene there. So why don't you share with us
Yeah.
just a little bit? What do you was there a moment in time or was it just the totality of things that
Yeah.
were happening? Share that with us if you would.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I was in Essex County. That's our home county,
Right.
Anthony Pope and I. And a lot of Democrats, people come from another country. They come in. They're blue collar workers. The Democrats stuck up for blue collar. We were John Kennedy. I was a JFK, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King Democrat. I was a Reagan Democrat, but understood, but still. And I was friends with all the Democrats. I would go campaign for Frank Lautenberg and Senator Bill Bradley, and I knew everybody and stayed as a Democrat, thinking blue collar workers, helping out at risk
Yeah.
community, helping out
Sure.
people of color, and being patriotic the way John F. Kennedy was. Then, and ironically enough, it was during the Obama administration. I got on the radio and I got into Salem, and I started seeing. And if I could just explain to the folks kind enough to be watching us now, Anthony Pope comes from Newark. My family comes from Newark, New Jersey. We have an allegiance to the great city of Newark. Anthony stays in Newark. Prudential stays in Newark. People are dedicated to Newark. Then when I saw back when I was on, even when Obama got in, I would see the carjackings. I would see the problems in Newark. And then, you and I both have had mentors, and you've been mentored to a lot of people where we tried to bring Newark back, but I never saw the Democrats going into the stressed areas where I was walking. I dedicated most of my life walking through Newark. I was just a soldier. The big philanthropic giants would say, "Joe, you got to go back to Newark. You got to help Newark." I'd go to the Boys and Girls Club. We've been there. How many charities have we done, Anthony Pope?
Yeah.
And proud to be it. We want to bring back Newark. And really, we have. Until recently, that's a whole nother story we'll get into. But then I would go to Camden. Camden was the most dangerous city in America. The most number one was Camden, New Jersey. I'm walking the streets. The shot callers, the drug lords would let me walk the streets because they knew I was there to help who? The nonprofits. I would help out the Unity community. We take them out. I brought the Today Show down to Camden. And when you and I started our foundation with Paul Goldenberg, our friend, the Positive Impact Foundation, it was to create positive media for at-risk kids. Where were the Democrats? Where were
Yeah.
they? And they weren't there. All the guys helping me were Republicans. I'm telling you. So now I said, at that point, I went, you know what? This is ridiculous. I said, like, he's been on. I always thought that Barack and Michelle should, man, they had it in the palm of their hand. I used to say it on the radio, not to get too political, but they should have been to Milwaukee and Memphis and St. Louis and Chicago and New York and Los Angeles and New Orleans. They should have gone to every inner city. Man, the place where they got nuts. You know the cops. You were a cop. You know what the cops could do. They could grid down those streets so they were safe for the Obama. They didn't care. They did nothing. And from then on, they didn't care. So I said, I left the party, or like I talked to her, some people today on the radio were talking, the party really kind of left me. And then I got to meet Ronald Reagan. And that was a real changing point for me. You shake Ronald Reagan's hand. He was just a warm, decent gentleman, a
Yeah.
warm, decent human with a great heart. And so I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. In New Jersey, we're not affiliated with any political party. I'm an independent, but to me, the conservatives make a lot more sense. And there was a change, and it was based on the inner cities. And now, between you and I, we talked about this. I've approached President Trump when he went to Wildwood, and he gave me the privilege to chat with him. And I talked to him about wind turbines on the initiative of Congressman Jeff Van Drew to get rid of no wind turbines down the Jersey Shore, man. We're fighting it tooth and nail. Jeff Van Drew kicked it in. I say to President Trump, Mr. President, we're in Wildwood. We don't want those wind turbines. He goes, done. They're gone. Day one in office, boom, it's gone. Executive order, no wind turbine. Then I
Yeah.
said, Mr. President, if you remember, I said, we need a presidential intercity task force. Done, Joe. You're going to be the first one on. So we got together last week, and I didn't want to. I'm going to get to the White House. I'm going to approach that. And this is, again, I'm going to a Republican president. I'm going to a guy that, that you would think wouldn't understand it, but who has created opportunity zones. So now, but the Democrats, if there was a Democrat helping me, Anthony, I would run and I would embrace them. Huh?
Well, that's the reason I'm an independent voter. I've been so for
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much all my life because
yeah,
I prefer to vote for who I choose to vote for at the time.
yeah,
Politicians in general, I don't really have a lot of like for them. I've
yeah,
always said, and in tongue in cheek a little bit, when people ask me as a lawyer, defense lawyer, do you
yeah.
believe in the death penalty? And I say, I don't believe in the death penalty only because we have the best of an imperfect system. And if
Mm,
you have an imperfect system, I'm
yeah,
not in favor of killing someone because if circumstances change,
yeah,
new
yeah,
evidence is revealed, you
yeah,
can always let somebody out of jail. You can't bring somebody back from the grave.
yeah,
So as long as the threat is eliminated, as far as I'm concerned, I'd rather not have death penalty. But then the caveat I say is except for politicians.
yeah, yeah.
I said, listen,
I,
I'll hit that switch all
I
day.
know. You're so funny. I
They
believe in
have
the death.
disappointed us so many times. It's just crazy.
I believe in the death penalty. For rapists, murderers, and people who drive too slow in the left lane. Those are the guys. Get out of there. What are you?
Oh, that's crazy. Real quick though, I know that you've taken somewhat of a hit though in Hollywood
Oh,
for your stance, for sure.
forget about it. Forget
Yeah.
about it. And you know what? It happened. If you check the book out, the Average Joe book, I write about it because I think it was when I had cancer in 1981. Quickly, I just had cancer, the medullary carcinoma, my thyroid, and then that changed my life, and it just and my whole personal life, my professional life, and then I got a 10-year cure right after that. But I burned I think a lot of bridges. I didn't play the game. Let me put it that way. That I
I
should
know.
have played after I stepped away a little bit, and then it's hard to make up to that. And then I came back to Jersey, man, and I just went, you and I started working together. That's when I first met you, and I went, let's help out the at-risk community, and let's go out and just go help out the Italian American community, and remember our parents. And we've gone through the deaths of our parents. We've gone to funerals. You've been there for my kids. When I got married, you were there at the altar with me, my brother, at the Sacred
Yes,
Heart
yes,
Basilica, stuff
yes.
like that. And I didn't play the game. Once I said I'm voting for Donald Trump,
That was it.
they don't want to hear it. And you know what? My attitude is so about the Obamas. Don't dislike the Obamas. I like Hillary. I don't hate Hillary Clinton. I'm the only one. No one likes to say it. What did they do? What did they do for the regular people? What did they do? I knew Donald Trump for 100 years. The way
And,
he built
and
New York.
you know why they didn't, Joe? Because they didn't have to.
Yeah.
Because they had the vote locked in.
Boom.
Had the vote
Boom.
locked in, and they didn't have
Boom.
to. They got it was an awakening for them this last
Boom.
November, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But Joe, I got to tell you, listen. First of all, thank you so much for coming on. Your career is transcended so many different aspects and areas of it. You are the best at what you do.
Ah,
But more importantly, I just want to say, look, we talked about giving back, and you are one of those people who has given back more than anybody else I've ever known. You
yeah.
are always there for people. You are
Yeah.
always there for the less fortunate, for the disenfranchised. You are there. You are a credit not only to our nationality as Italians, but to America.
Ah,
So, Joe, I want you to please keep up the good work. And listen, people, average Joe, I got to tell you, this is a book. This is
okay.
incredible. You got to pick it up and read it. And Joe, thanks again, brother. I love you. I'll see you soon.
Thank you for you doing so much that you have done, Anthony Pope. You're a shining example of how to conduct ourselves in this world. So God bless you. Proud to know you, my friend, and I love you.
Likewise, brother. Thank you. Love you too.